Hey, you've come to the end of week 3. We're week 3, day 5 today. We've just been marching through the book of Luke, and we're at Luke chapter 15 today. It's just been so incredible as you march that, and I just can't wait. I've been through this with some people, and I can't wait we get into some other sections that'll just blow your mind. But this, I love reading the Gospels and reading what Jesus did, and then we'll be jumping into Acts and seeing all those works. So let's jump into Luke 15 today. And what's your highlight today? Our highlight, if you're new with us, is the main verse or verses that stood out to you. And mine today is Luke chapter 15, verse 32. 32. This is in this whole chapter is about lost things: the lost coin, the lost sheep, and then the lost son. We often call him the prodigal son. The very last verse is verse 32. This is the father of the prodigal speaking to the older brother. And he said, "It was right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found." Now, real quick background on this. If you don't know this and not as familiar with this story, the prodigal, the parable of the prodigal, he came up to his father one day and he said, "Hey, I want what's coming to me. I want my inheritance." Now, if I would have gone to my dad and said, "Hey, I want what's coming to me," he would have given me what's coming to me. But he came to him and said, "I want what's coming to me." And his father gave it, and he went out and wasted it all. And finally he comes to his senses and he's like, "What have I done?" And he goes back, and the father welcomes him, and they kill a fatted calf. They're having a big feast, having a big party, new shoes, new clothes, new ring on his finger. I mean, all these things that he has. The older brother, who's always been there and never left, is a little miffed and a little, "Wait a minute, you never gave a party for me. I mean, I've been here serving all this time. I've been doing all this, and this brother, this son of yours that wasted everything, that's not right. That's not fair." And so that's the way he comes back. Well, the father begins to tell him, "What do you mean?" And as I begin to think about that, some of us would go, "Yeah, well, the older brother's right. He stayed around. He didn't do all these things. He didn't leave his father." But here's what I want you to get, because Jesus was really trying to emphasize to the people. He's not just telling a story to tell a story. He's speaking to these people that were religious, who were watching people come into the kingdom, and they're like, "Hey, they don't deserve to be in the kingdom. We've always done this, and we've always done right." And Jesus is dealing with his critics. And he says, and as I was looking at that, this was my thoughts for today in my journal. The older brother has received all the goodness of the father. That's true. Everything that the older brother had, you know where he got it from? The father. The reason the older brother had a job, the reason the older brother had a place to sleep, the reason the older brother had shoes on his feet, the older brother, all that he received from the father. But he acted as if he deserved it, rather than recognizing it was the father's grace. Which one of these brothers received grace? Was it the prodigal who came home? Yeah, he received grace. But the older brother who had always been around, the only reason he had anything was grace as well. All that we have is because of God's grace. So who are we to say that's not fair? Truly, if you think about it, God's grace isn't fair, because we got what we deserved. So aren't you glad for his mercy? Aren't you glad for his grace? So so my response to this today is, instead of being skeptical, instead of watching somebody like, "I'm not really sure they're following Jesus, and I'm not sure they're doing this right," instead of being skeptical, I need to have a spirit of rejoicing. Rejoicing in that the lost are found. Rejoicing that someone has received the grace that I know so well and that I've received as well. So let us today just be people of grace, and let us today be people that see the goodness of God. And I hope this, as you go into this weekend, that's exactly what you're pursuing, is the grace and mercy of God, and realizing how good it is in your life, and that you want to share it with others. So make sure you share with us what stood out to you. There's a ton in this one chapter, Luke chapter 15. Love to hear exactly what God has spoken to your heart about. Share with us with that in the comments, and feel free to comment to one another about the goodness of God in your life, and I know we'll be blessed by it. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for week 4. Take care.